In the year 2000, a stranger appeared on internet forums claiming to be from the year 2036. He predicted 9/11, warned about civil wars, and described technology that wouldn't exist for decades. Then he vanished without a trace. This is the story of John Titor, the time traveler who knew too much. Welcome back to Mysteries of Time, where we explore the enigmas that challenge everything we think we know about reality. I'm your host, and today we're investigating one of the internet's greatest mysteries. A man who claimed to be from the future and made predictions so accurate they're still sending chills down researchers' spines over 2 decades later. Was John Titor a genuine time traveler, an elaborate hoax, or something even stranger? It began on November 2nd, 2000, on the Art Bell Post-to-Post forum. A user calling himself Time Travel Zero started posting messages that would captivate the internet for months. His claim was extraordinary. He was a soldier from the year 2036, sent back in time on a mission to retrieve an IBM 5100 computer from 1975. But this wasn't some rambling conspiracy theorist. Time Travel Zero's posts were detailed, technical, and eerily specific. He described his time machine with engineering precision, explained the physics of time travel using concepts that wouldn't become mainstream for years, and painted a vivid picture of a future that was both fascinating and terrifying. John Titor, as he would later identify himself, claimed to travel through time using a device mounted in a 1967 Chevrolet Corvette, later changed to a 1987 Chevrolet Suburban for better cargo capacity. The machine, he said, was built by General Electric in 2034 and used rotating microsingularities to achieve time displacement. His technical descriptions were remarkably sophisticated. He explained how the machine created a gravity field that allowed for time travel, described the mathematical principles behind temporal mechanics, and even posted what he claimed were the machine's technical manual pages. Physics professors who analyzed his explanations found them surprisingly coherent with theoretical frameworks that were barely understood at the time. Titor's mission was specific: retrieve an IBM 5100 computer from 1975. He claimed this machine had unique capabilities that would be crucial for debugging legacy computer systems in his timeline. What made this remarkable was that in 2000, very few people knew about the IBM 5100's hidden features. The IBM 5100, it turns out, did have secret capabilities that weren't publicly documented until years after Titor's posts. It could emulate and debug computer systems that were already obsolete by 2000, exactly what Titor said his future needed. How could an internet hoaxer know about classified technical specifications of a 25-year-old computer? Titor's predictions about the future were where his story became truly unsettling. He described an America torn apart by civil conflict, beginning with the 2004 elections and escalating into outright civil war by 2008. He predicted that constitutional rights would be suspended, that the country would split into regional factions, and that everyday life would become increasingly militarized. While a full civil war didn't materialize exactly as he described, many of Titor's broader predictions proved eerily accurate. He foresaw the extreme political polarization that defines modern America, predicted the erosion of civil liberties following terrorist attacks, and described social divisions that seem remarkably similar to what we're experiencing today. Most chilling of all, in posts made in early 2001, Titor warned about N-Day, a coming terrorist attack that would change everything. Months before September 11th, he wrote about how a major attack on American soil would lead to expanded government powers and foreign wars. The specificity was uncanny. Titor's scientific knowledge was perhaps most impressive aspect of his claims. He described concepts from theoretical physics that were barely understood in 2000, including details about microsingularities, Kerr black holes, and many worlds quantum theory that wouldn't become widely discussed for years. He accurately predicted developments in particle physics, described the discovery of the Higgs boson before it was confirmed, and explained quantum computing principles that were still theoretical. When pressed for proof, he provided mathematical equations and scientific explanations that graduate-level physicists found surprisingly sophisticated. Most remarkably, he predicted that CERN would achieve significant breakthroughs in particle physics and mentioned the creation of micro-black holes in laboratory conditions, something that wouldn't be seriously discussed by mainstream science until nearly a decade later. Titor painted a detailed picture of life in his native 2036. He described a world rebuilt after devastating conflicts, simpler, more community-oriented, but also more dangerous. Technology had advanced in some areas while regressing in others. People lived in smaller communities, grew their own food, and valued practical skills over digital conveniences. His descriptions of future technology were intriguingly specific. Advances in computer processing, developments in space travel, and breakthroughs in physics that seemed both plausible and revolutionary. He described a world where the internet still existed, but was far less centralized, where people had learned hard lessons about trusting institutions. What made these details compelling wasn't their fantastical nature. They were remarkably realistic and well thought out, showing a deep understanding of how societies adapt to crisis and how technology evolves under different pressures. Despite the compelling nature of many of Titor's claims, skeptics raised important questions. If he could time travel, why not prevent the disasters he predicted? His explanations about multiple timelines and the impossibility of changing his own past were sophisticated but convenient. Some of his more specific predictions failed to materialize. The Olympics were supposed to be cancelled after 2004. Russia was supposed to launch a nuclear strike in 2015, and the American Civil War he described never fully erupted. Titor explained these discrepancies by saying he had traveled to a different timeline, but critics saw them as evidence of fraud. Technical experts also questioned some of his claims. While his physics knowledge was impressive, some details about his time machine seemed inconsistent or impossible, even by his own rules. The photos he posted of his device were intriguing, but could potentially be elaborate props. On March 24, 2001, John Titor posted his final message. He thanked the forum community, said his mission was complete, and announced his departure back to 2036. He had spent over 4 months sharing his story, answering thousands of questions, and building one of the most detailed time travel accounts ever recorded. Then he simply vanished. No more posts, no follow-ups, no explanations. The man who claimed to be from the future had returned to whatever time he came from, leaving behind only questions and a growing legend that would captivate internet communities for decades. Over the years, researchers have tried to uncover Titor's true identity. Some believe he was Larry Haber, a Florida lawyer whose family later claimed ownership of the Titor story. Others suspect he was a group of science fiction writers or physics graduate students conducting an elaborate social experiment. The most intriguing theory suggests Titor was connected to real classified military research into time travel or temporal physics. his knowledge of certain technical details, his understanding of military procedures, and his accurate predictions about technology developments suggest access to information that wouldn't be publicly available for years. Despite extensive investigation, no definitive proof of his identity has ever been found. The John Titor Foundation, established by the Haber family, has published books and maintained websites, but they've never provided conclusive evidence about who the original poster really was. 23 years later, the John Titor mystery remains unsolved. Whether he was a genuine time traveler, an incredibly well-informed hoaxer, or something else entirely, his impact on internet culture and our understanding of prediction and prophecy is undeniable. What makes Titor's story enduringly fascinating isn't just the accuracy of many of his predictions, but the questions he raised about the nature of time, causality, and human knowledge. In an age of instant information and constant connectivity, his story reminds us that the most profound mysteries might come from the most unexpected sources. Perhaps most importantly, Titor's warnings about political division, social conflict, and the fragility of democratic institutions have proven remarkably prescient. Whether he saw these developments through time travel or simply through careful analysis of existing trends, his message about the importance of community, critical thinking, and human connection feels more relevant than ever. Do you think John Titor was really from the future? Or was he just an incredibly sophisticated hoaxer? What aspects of his story do you find most convincing or concerning? Share your theories in the comments below, and don't forget to subscribe for more mysteries that blur the line between science fiction and reality. Until next time, remember, the future might be closer than we think, and the past might not be as fixed as we believe.